Alright, so a couple of weeks ago, someone asked me what an IP address is, and as I tried to explain to them what I know about it, I decided to do some more research since I didn't know a lot, and I learned a lot more about it than I even knew. And so I decided, why not share it out here in one of my Tech Talks video? And so here we are. I'll share what I learned from the research that I did, and I hope it helps someone out there. And before I start, I've left timestamps if you'd like to skip or go back to a particular part in the video. What's up guys, how are you doing? Hope you're having a nice day. I'm Milan and welcome back to Physitech. I hope your day is going on well, and without further delay, let's get on to the video. Well, the IP part of the name stands for Internet Protocol, whilst the address part is just the way it is, an address, but it's not the usual address. So we all know an address is a particular place or spot where someone lives or something is situated in. It's usually made up of numbers representing a particular location, say the street name or the city, the village or whatever. Your home has an address, your workplace has an address, school has an address, and so on. So an IP address is something that represents where your device lives on the internet. Your device could be a phone, tablet, laptop, desktop, and much more. So as long as it's connected to the internet, it has an IP address. So the same way normal addresses are made up of numbers, all IP addresses too are made up of numbers. So the same way we need to know, identify, and differentiate where people live, where different institutions are, and whatever, is the same way the internet needs to know where different computers are located. For example, if you want to send a letter via mail to someone, it will be sent to their address. Without knowing that address, you won't be able to send it. The internet also knows your phone's IP address, so if you want to download a file, it will send it to you via that IP address. Well, let's talk a little bit about the numbers. When you look at your IP address, you must get confused because it consists of multiple numbers which are not random, but they are assigned by an organization called ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. So its job is to maintain the internet security, registering domains, and basically such stuff. You can just Google it. Anyways, this is an example of an IP address on the screen here. So the numbers are written in a particular format that must be followed. And also there are two popular versions, IPv4, which stands for Internet Protocol version 4, which is a size of 32 bits, and another one is IPv6, which stands for Internet Protocol version 6, which is a size of 128 bits. To get connected to the internet, your device has to be connected to a network first, and this network is connected to the internet by itself. Then it grants you permission to access the said internet. So basically your device is connected to the internet indirectly by using a medium. The medium is the network. When you're at home, that network, which is the medium, is your internet service provider. It's also referred to as an ISP. So your internet service provider gives you an IP address. Then all the activity that you do in the internet goes through your ISP, then to you through your IP address. Now, let's say you've left home for school or your workplace, and now you're using the institution's Wi-Fi. Your IP address will also change, and you'll have a new one assigned to you by the ISP of the institution that you are in. Now there are different types of IP addresses, but I'm going to focus only on the main ones. We have public IP address and private IP address. So starting with the public IP address, it's like the main address associated with your whole network. An example is, suppose you're in a neighborhood of like 10 homes, then each of these homes have their own Wi-Fi router, but maybe you all have the same internet service provider. So the internet service provider will give each and every one of the routers its own IP address. That IP address assigned to your router is a public IP address. It's public because all other devices outside of your internet network or your internet circle will use it to recognize your network. That's why when you turn on your Wi-Fi, you'll see several options around you. All those use public IP addresses so as to be identified by other devices. Moving on to the private IP address, these are personal to a device. At home, you have the router which sort of supplies internet to the house. In the house, you have phones, laptops, tablets, TVs, and just any device that can connect to the internet. All these devices use the internet provided from the router. Your router identifies each and every single one of these devices using the IP addresses. So all these devices have their own IP addresses, and that is what is called a private IP address. We also have static and dynamic IP addresses, which you can just Google, because I was to focus on the main ones. Let's get to the slightly darker side of the story, just slightly dark, and it's hackers. So hackers can use your IP address against you, so it's not good to give up your IP address. If someone knows your IP address, they can easily track down your location, or even worse, hack into your device or network. Or even worse, doing illegal stuff using your IP address, and when law enforcement catches up with you, you'll have a hard time. But you can protect yourself by using a proxy server, which will basically redirect your online activity and show the website you visit a different IP address or the proxy server instead of a real one. A more safer option is using a VPN, a virtual private network. So a VPN hides your IP address and redirects your traffic through a separate server, basically hiding your location on the internet and showing a completely different one. It's deemed to be the much safer generally, and I won't explain how a VPN works, but that's a video for another day. Anyways, that's all for IP addresses, and if you learned something, don't forget to like so that it will be recommended to others. Thanks for watching, and if you're new to the channel, I wouldn't mind if you subscribe. Thanks a lot again, and I hope you have a safe day. See you next time. Peace.